When you heard the news about the Charlie Hebdo massacre, what went through your mind?
Well, it was interesting. I was just kind of getting ready for work, coming into the office. My wife came in and said, there's been this shooting in Paris. The cartoonists are shot. So I watched the news for a while, and I found, I had this reaction, of course, that this is cartoonist, this is different. But I sort of reacted to it the way I react to any news story, where right away you started thinking, okay, what do I want to say about this? I wanted to gather more information. So I didn't really react on a personal level immediately. But then I started, over the next day, started getting messages, emails, texts from friends and readers, and they're all saying things like, "Are you okay? Stay safe. We're with you. Keep doing what you do." And it suddenly struck me on a more personal level that this wasn't just about these victims in Paris. It was an attack on what I do, and what political cartoonists like I do all over the world. And it also struck me how the reaction of all these people was that what I do and what my colleagues do and what the French cartoonists have been doing is really important to people. Sometimes in doing this, you think, well, I'm doing cartoons. How important could that be? But people do care. It matters to people, and it matters that I have the freedom to do that, because it's just an expression of the freedom of speech that we all need to have. So over several days, it became more. It really struck me a little more deeply, and on a level beyond just the tragedy of it. It was that there was seemed to be this sense of solidarity among people who read my cartoons.
Many people believe that cartoonists are not supposed to insult or offend anyone. But isn't there a saying that even the right to offend is part of freedom of speech?
That's been a question that I've been thinking about, grappling with, because the many of the cartoons that they were doing at Charlie Hebdo were way beyond anything I would do. They seem to be intent on offending, or at least getting a strong visceral reaction. And I think that from things I've read about what their editor believed and they believed, it was the sense that because we have the right to say anything, we need to say it in the most outrageous way, because that will establish sort of the outer boundary of what can be said. There were some of the cartoons they did that I would find offensive, and they were not things that I would draw. My approach has always been, my first job isn't to offend. My first job is to connect and to get people to understand my point of view. Someone's going to be offended by everything I do, but I don't try to do that. With them, I think they were trying to do it. But even though I maybe disagree with their approach, giving offense has to be part of free speech. Because, as I said, I don't think I've done a single cartoon, no matter how innocuous, that hasn't offended somebody. So if that was the standard, that no one is offended, you'd never do anything. So they just made it their task to be as offensive as possible, which has its place in the debate. I mean, I think they understood, and they understood well that there would be a reaction to that. And if you're going to be out there making that sort of statement, you've got to deal with the reaction. But obviously, the reaction should never be violence. It should never be someone shooting you. It should, if someone picketed their office or debated them on television or whatever. I mean, it should still be in the bounds of debate.
What do you think about the future of cartoonists, especially living in the Middle East or North Africa, who are facing a lot of problems after this uh, action? And is there a way that North American cartoonists somehow would be able to support them?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, we American cartoonists have known for a long time that we sort of work in a very privileged environment. Um, Nobody gets attacked other than verbally. Nobody gets sued. We're pretty free to say what we want to say. Um, and the other reality that I found a lot of people don't know about is that the killing of the cartoonist in Paris was an extreme example of something that goes on all the time in many parts of the world. There are cartoonists and writers being attacked, being thrown into jail, being run out of their countries because of what they do. So it's hard to know exactly what American or Australian or British cartoonists can do to help, other than maybe to publicize these sort of incidents and to actively, make statements, communicate with authorities who are, repressing cartoonists. Um, there's a limit to what we can do, but I just making it more public, making these people aware that they're being, watched. The governments care about that, at least a little bit. I don't know what you do about radical groups that really don't care. And sadly, it's the world we're living in right now. But at least to the extent American cartoonists can publicize and make statements and sort of show some sort of solidarity with these cartoonists who are working in much more extreme circumstances. I guess that's at least a start.
What do you think about a special day, a specific day, to remind everyone about cartoonists? Like, let's say, 7th of January would become the International Day of Cartooning, to remind everyone of what happened to the cartoonists of Charlie Hebdo and other cartoonists all around the world. People.
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea, because it's too easy to let it all slip away. If there was a day a year where you said, okay, this is the day where we remind everybody of the value of free expression, of satire, of political discourse, and the dangers that some people encounter when they try to do that in many places in the world. If there was a day where there was a collective reminder of that, I think it'd be pretty powerful. I'd certainly